Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Krauthamel. A lot on tap for you guys today. We're going to go through everything Greg Schiano had to say at his Iowa Game Week presser. We're going to go into the Rutgers-Iowa matchup by the numbers, go into some advanced analytics, go through some PFF grades, kind of talk about where Iowa does things well and where they do not do things well. And then we're going to go around the Big Ten, talk about how some of Rutgers' future opponents did now that we are past the out of conference and we are officially only in Big Ten games from here on out, outside of a bowl game. But first, this podcast is presented to you once again by FanDuel. Guys, I keep saying it, but I'm not sure if some of you aren't getting the memo or if this game just shifted a little bit based on how Iowa performed against UMass, who, by the way, anybody who follows Bill Connolly's SP Plus metrics, UMass is far and away the worst FBS team in the country. He ranks every single football program in college football like 1 to 780 or something crazy like that. UMass is ranked in his power rankings as they would be the 65th best FCS program, and they would be the 8th best D2 program, just to kind of give you an idea where they sit. So Iowa won 47-7 against UMass and former Rutgers defensive coordinator Joe Harris-Simiak, but that pushed the line down another point. So Rutgers is currently a 2.5-point dog on FanDuel, and they are plus 116 on the money line. So if you didn't get in on it last week at plus 108, you still have a juicy opportunity. If you, like I do, think Rutgers has a very good chance of winning on Friday night. But let's first go into what Greg Schiano had to say. We're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to play the whole press conference, and then we're going to talk about what he said. I think everyone who watched the post game really appreciated how he did it there, so that's how we're going to do things moving forward. So, Rich, if you don't mind pulling up that presser, and we could talk about what we think you said afterwards.
Tell me if the volume's okay.
Okay.
Okay, guys, thanks for
turn it up a little bit.
Practice, but
that's good.
Get you covering us as always. A couple things before we get started. First, huge congratulations to Coach Ferentz. Breaking the all-time Big Ten wins record is quite an accomplishment, and he's one of the guys that I respect the most in coaching, and I think that's kind of universal in our business. He's done it really well for a really long time. So, congratulations. The consistency that he's demonstrated as the head coach there at Iowa, just in the last 10 years, right? When you get ready to play somebody, you get a lot of information, obviously, and one of 5 teams in the country that have won at least 8 games in the last 9 years. There's only 5 of them in the whole America. So, again, when you play his teams, they're tough, they're disciplined, they're smart, they're well coached, and they're never going to lose the game. You're going to have to go beat them if you're going to win. And that's quite a challenge. When you look at them, it's a really good football team. Quarterback, Gronkowski is a proven winner, national champion 2 times over, and has just won, I think, more games than anybody else, or maybe there's one guy who's won more games than him as a starting quarterback. So, and certainly you can see the improvement each week. Getting more and more comfortable with their system. You look at their offensive line, it's big, strong, athletic, as you're accustomed to Iowa's offensive line. Really well coached again. A depth at running back. They've had some injuries, but they just seem to roll out another one, and the guy's really, really good player. And then at wideout, they have more depth than maybe in the past. They spread it around more. It's going to be interesting how they attack us. But big challenge for our defense. Their defense, is, again, you talk about consistency. It's been a top defense over the last 10 years, under 20 points a game over the last 10 years. You talk about consistency, right? And right now they're top 5 defense in the country. So we certainly have our hands full going against them. Defensive line is going to be their defensive line is a big challenge. And certainly we have a few issues right now with the health of our offensive line. So certainly an area of concern for me and the staff. We're working on that. And then always in special teams, they're really good. They challenge you in every area of special teams. You need to be on point in every single area. They'll make you pay. So quite a challenge. Looking forward to it. Going to be a great atmosphere Friday night. Beautiful day predicted. Beautiful evening. Blackout. We need our fans for sure. It's going to be a huge part of our opportunity to win that football game is that our home field advantage. So definitely need our fans. With that, I'll open up for questions.
How are CJ and Tyler doing after what happened the other day?
Yeah, CJ is still being evaluated. Tyler, same thing, still being evaluated. Definitely a concern. We're down. You don't realize as they happen one at a time, but we're down quite a few guys that we're going to be in the 2 deep already, and it's only a quarter through the season. So we have to adjust, adapt a little bit, move some things around. Maybe we'll see, depending on the health of the team. But yeah, definitely a concern.
Greg, there's no question the offense has made great strides the last couple of years here. Are you curious to see what this unit will do against an elite Big Ten defense?
Well, I'm right now. I'm not in the curious mode because we're trying to get our leading receivers not playing. It hasn't played. Our tackle, a running back. So there's a lot of pieces right now that are in flux. I would tell you that it's and on a short week. So, go figure. But we got to figure it out, and we're going to have to do some things as a staff to figure that out. And you're right. When you have the challenge of playing a top-flight defense and figure that out, that's something that we're going to have to really work hard to make sure we're giving ourselves the best chance.
Do you have an update on Ian now that you mentioned him?
Again, he's trying. It's just, the position he plays, that injury can be a little bit limiting.
If CJ can't go, does that change your plans at all with Sam Brown, given his situation?
All pieces are in play. Yeah, I can't tell you how we're going to do it yet because I don't know. It's all contingent upon. So you have to practice with some contingency plans in case. And then, as we get a little further into the week, we got to make some decisions because then you got to really dedicate those reps solely to the people that are going to play.
Oh, you talked about the crowd on Saturday, the blackout. What type of atmosphere are you expecting from both fans and students?
Well, we had if you look back last year, the blackout week 4 against Washington, it was an amazing atmosphere. We need to have that. We're a little bit shorthanded, as I've mentioned. We need that energy. We need that the fan support. We need all that to give ourselves the best chance to win.
Coach, you've seen the defense take strides in the past few weeks. Where do you think they are at going against your first Big Ten opponent? And what do you expect in that game?
Again, we're a work in progress, as I've said, but now the picture kind of changes a little bit. So yes, they do gun run, but they also do pro style under center, right? So there's kind of like 2 different offenses you have to prepare for, and then the quarterback. When you watch him run, he reminds me of Johnny Langan. He's 6'2", 235, and he hits it down in there. It's physical. Now, it's not like they're running him a lot, but when they do, it's important, and he gets the job done. So we have to account for every phase of their offense, and that's a challenge when there's good players. And what really makes them tick, that offensive line is physical. They're big, and they're extremely well coached. You're not going to fool them. So you're going to have to one-on-one, man for man, hold up. And that's a challenge.
Have you seen Ja'Shawn Benjamin take advantage of his opportunities from the offseason now, especially if he needs to take on a bigger role if CJ's banged up?
Yeah, Benji's done that since the day he's been here. We chose to redshirt him last year, but he's a great competitor. He's a really good running back. He's got great vision, can change direction on a dime, and we're going to need him more now.
You talk about Coach Kirk Ferentz and your admiration for him. Iowa's a developmental program, much like you guys. Do you see them somewhat as a model in terms of that pipeline, the way they always seem to reload?
I did when the first time we were here. I looked at them as a program that we would like to emulate. And, again, you can't live in the past. My regret is that I left. If we hadn't left, who knows, we might be that program today. But we're not, right? We are where we are, so we have a lot of work to do, and that's really my focus now.
Mo Giwa, what have you seen from him in this last game? And then what made you go after him in the portal?
Well, Mo's a big, athletic offensive lineman, but it was a huge step up in competition. And, he went in there and battled Saturday. We just got to make sure that, this is a whole different animal now we're playing. This defensive front's probably the best in the Big Ten. I mean, they are physical. They play with great pad level. They're nasty. They get after the quarterback. They play the run well. They redirect blocks. They do all the things that that are hard. So we have to be on point on the offensive line. So if Mo gets the opportunity, he's going to really have his hands full.
You kind of touched on this already with some of the injuries in the other position groups, but how do you and the staff prepare the guys that may need to be that next guy up on a day-to-day basis for if they do get that opportunity?
That's all we do. As was said here, we're a developmental program, so we're developing all the time. That's what we were doing just now. The guys that are going to be in the travel squad, they took it in, and now we were just out there for a half hour developing our players, and that's what we do every day. There's never a day that we don't take advantage of an opportunity to develop the younger players. It may be for this year, it may be for next year, it may be 3 years from now. But, when you look at guys, one of my favorite stories right now is Hank Hughes. Hank has worked his tail off. And if you would have saw Hank as a freshman, you'd say, that guy will never play here. And all of a sudden he's gotten into games. He recovers a fumble the other day. You saw the excitement of the guys on the sideline when he recovered that fumble. That's because everybody on our team knows how hard Hank Hughes has worked to put himself in a position to play on the defense. And that to me is what our program's about, is if you just keep seeing guys for what they can become, not where they are right now, but what they can become, and helping them achieve that. Some of that is pushing them. Some of that is encouraging them. But that's, that to me is all part of the development.
Well, Brian, Steve, Chris, to finish here.
Greg, as you look to take steps forward as a program, how important is it to win games like this against programs like Iowa of that caliber?
Yeah, it's important to win all the games, right? And certainly Iowa is one of the better teams on our schedule. So it's a great challenge. And I've made no secret about it. I admire the way they do things and the way they run the program and the way they play on the game field. So, yeah, it'd be a very big step.
How does this offense change if Ian can't play?
Well, you saw kind of how it changed on Saturday, right? So Ben Black gets inserted. Unfortunately, Vernon Allen went down as well. So now even our young depth is compromised, right? Vern's down. We just got to keep playing, and if he can't play, then, we're going to have to really watch the reps, watch what routes they're running, and be ready for some young guys to step up. It's cliche, but the next man up attitude has to be. Yeah.
Final question.
What have you seen from Abram Wright since he's been back? And I guess how important is it to get him caught up given the depth there?
Yeah, I thought he played well for being out as much as he was out. Right now he's got a game under his belt. We need him to play really well. I look at those three as all starting linebackers, all three of those guys. So we're gonna play them all and different roles, different packages, but they all need to play, and they all need to spell each other for us to be the best defense we can be. Well, I'm gonna say it one more time. We need you guys at the Blackout, fans. So come on out. Thank you.
So, like most Greg Schiano pressers, didn't reveal a ton. Obviously, a lot of questions were asked about injuries, and he did not really give solid answers on them. He was very deferential to the Iowa team that we will play on Friday. Alec, what was something that stood out to you from Greg in the presser today?
I think one thing that you mentioned, the praise that he has for Iowa, like he does this every week, whether they're playing Ohio State or I don't know, I'm actually looking at Bill Connolly's SP Plus right now, whether they're playing Ohio State or Maine Maritime, he's going to say good things about the team that they're playing. He's going to say some good things about their some of their guys that they have, but you can tell the praise that he has for Iowa and the standard that they have reached and have consistently stayed at is something that he's looking for. And kind of like how the question was phrased, that's kind of like a model for how he wants Rutgers to look at as a program when you look at it in a 10-year space. I also thought it was interesting. He still mentioned that the concern level with Campbell and Needham was higher, I think. So yeah, I know we said this on the postgame show, but I feel like the running back room, which is why I kind of asked Schiano about Jayshon Benjamin, I feel like it's better prepared with the other two guys. I mean, it helps when you have three different guys that can, get a good amount of carries. I think they're better suited to handle an injury to one of the three of them. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, just a lot of the defense still being a work in progress, things like that. I thought it was funny. He mentioned the Henry Hughes. I guess his nickname is Hank, but the Henry Hughes fumble that was recovered. He said that the guys were all like celebrating. I talked to Jordan Walker after the game. He said the exact same thing. Every time the defense made a play, the second team defense, they were all getting all hyped up and stuff, especially on that play. Something that Jordan Walker also said. They know how hard he and all those other guys work. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, again, there's not too much you can take away from a game like Norfolk State, but you got to really be ready to ramp it up when you're going from Norfolk State to Iowa.
How about you, Rich?
I think Alec basically said it all. There's not much to Greg Schiano press conferences. There never really is. But there's just a lot of hype for Iowa. I think he knows that. He kind of emphasized that just by honestly hyping up Iowa himself. But other than that, like, injuries are always going to be a concern, especially this week because now you're down 2 left tackles probably, if not 3 at this point, technically, if Tyler Needham can't go. But I thought Giwa played pretty well. So, and I think there's a lot of hype and praise for him. I've said it before. They see him as a multi-year starter on this team. So if he has to step up, he has to step up. And Greg said it best. It's like, it doesn't matter what he thinks. It's time to go. Like, Big Ten play is here. This atmosphere is going to be crazy. And I'm still pretty confident in Rutgers, but not having your third starting left tackle might be a big issue there too. So we'll just have to wait and see who plays. And then also, if you're not having wide receiver ones, that's a pretty big serious issue too. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, because I mean, we're going to need to be at full strength to beat Iowa, because I see that as a game of whoever can like dictate the terms of this matchup will be the one who comes out on top. And I've said it a couple times already. I think in order for Rutgers to really succeed against Iowa, they got to make them play from behind and press on offense. But if Iowa is able to just kind of run the ball relentlessly down our throats, that's going to be really deflating. And we have one of the worst run defenses in the Power Four. So whoever can kind of get that early edge and kind of press that edge the rest of the game, I think is going to probably be the team that comes out on top. I do have some numbers to go through if you guys want to just kind of talk through it and tell me what you think of all of this. So I did a deep dive into a lot of the matchups between Rutgers and Iowa for this week. So just kind of prepare yourselves. For those of you who are listening on audio, I'll try and be as descriptive as possible so you're not just left out in the cold here. So these are Iowa's numbers offensively, just kind of from on the left-hand side here. I'll zoom in a bit. I hate that it does that. It gets all pixelated when you tap it in. All right. So the left-hand side here are just kind of like raw stats. So I'll go through it. Scoring offense, Iowa ranks 63rd in the country at 31.3 points per game. Total offense in terms of yardage, they're 101st at 337 yards per game, 335.7 yards per game, rather. Time of possession, they're 24th with 33 minutes and change. Turnovers lost, they only turn the ball over about 0.7 turnovers per game so far. That's 27th best. Third down conversion rate, they're converting at 54.3% of the time. 16th best. Fourth down conversion rate, they're 40th best at 67%. They're number one in the FBS in penalties per game at just 2.3. Their red zone offense, they're scoring at an 85.4% clip, which is 60th best. Passing offense, this is where they really struggle. 125th best at 121.7 yards per game. Yards per completion, they're 129th in the FBS at 8.49 yards per completion. 79th in sacks allowed. Rushing offense, they are 30th at 214 yards per game. And tackles for loss allowed, they're only allowing 4 per game, which is also 30th best. Either you guys have a takeaway from any of those numbers before we go into some of the advanced analytics on Iowa? Offense, rather.
I mean, not really, other than the time of possession is interesting just because they can also play keep away if they want to. They're okay with winning 7-3. They don't really give a shit. They'll just hold on to the ball all game.
Yep.
So
that might be
an interesting stat.
I mean, that might be their strategy going into the game. Like, even if Rutgers' offense is largely as efficient or nearly as efficient as we saw them in the first 3 games of the season, they might not get as many opportunities if the defense just can't get off the field and they lose the time of possession battle. So, I mean, I don't know if it makes it easier or harder to face this team if they can't throw the ball, because the Rutgers defense has struggled at times containing the run game as well. Against Norfolk State, it was kind of like their smaller playmakers kind of got into space and made things happen with their speed. I'm assuming Iowa, more of a bruising style. I haven't been able to watch their UMass game yet. That's on the docket for today and tomorrow. But I guess it would make it easier in that you could probably stack the box a lot more. But if the front four isn't getting a lot of push, then it may not even matter at that point. So I think it's all about the front four, seeing if they can set the tone. It's going to be tough against Iowa. They're always good in the trenches. So, yeah, it's just a matter of how do they stop this run game. And that'll kind of either shut everything else down on offense if it goes well, and it'll open up the Hawkeyes offense if it does not go well.
Yeah, and the advanced analytics totally point to that as well. If you look at on offense generally, their adjusted EPA per play, which is expected points added per play, is ranked 59th at negative 0.03 EPA per play. Their raw EPA per play is 67th best at 0.07. Their yards per play is 108th in the FBS at 5.14. Their success rate on offense is 51st at 45.5%. Passing, their EPA per dropback is 94th at negative 0.07. Their yards per dropback is 121st best in the FBS at 4.79. Their passing success rate is 107th best at 37.7%. Their rushing numbers, EPA per rush is 38th at 0.12 EPA per rush. Their yards per rush is 56th best at 5.35 yards per rush. Their rushing success rate is 16th best at 50.4%. And their havoc rate, which is the number of tackles for loss, sacks, interceptions or pass breakups, is 9th best at just 5.9%. This is kind of why the forcing them to play from behind is so critical in this game, because if they could just run the ball down our throats, they're going to do it, and they're going to do it at a high success level because that is what their strength is on offense. So can we not allow them to utilize their greatest strength on offense will be key for Rutgers in this one. Going to move on to Rutgers offensive stats so far through 3 games to kind of compare and contrast with Iowa. As you can see, a lot more green on the screen for Rutgers. I'll go through them quickly. These shouldn't surprise. Scoring offense, Rutgers is 13th best in the country at 46.3 points per game. 36th best in total offense, 461 yards per game. Time possession, Rutgers is 5th best at 35 minutes and change per game. Turnovers lost, Rutgers is best in the nation. They've not turned the ball over yet this season. 25th best in third down conversion rate at 50%. 26th best at fourth down conversion rate at 80%. 23rd best at penalties per game at just 4 per game. Rutgers is 33rd best in red zone offense at 94.1%. Passing offense, 24th best at 296 yards per game. Yards per completion, Rutgers is 30th best at 13.27 yards per completion. Sacks allowed, 97th best at 2.3 per game. Rushing offense, Rutgers was a little bit worse than I expected. 69th, nice best rushing yards per game at 164.7. And tackles for loss allowed, Rutgers has 5 per game, which is 64th best. Anything that jumps off to you guys before we get into the advanced analytics of Rutgers offense?
We all knew that they didn't turn the ball over at all. It's very impressive to see. And then you see number 1, and it's like, okay, that's even kind of cool looking. Like it's you don't see it very often, so it's just kind of cool to see Rutgers first in a category. Not only first, but they're 5th in time of possession, like you said, scoring possession, top 15. A lot of like top 15, top 30-ish rankings. We know this offense has been good, but I think it's better than anyone really expected it to be.
And I think the 2 things that kind of stick out to me, I think it's largely impressive that the time of possession numbers have been very good, while also the rushing numbers haven't been as high as they have been in years past, which means they are able to get those chunk plays with the passing offense, which is kind of what we were looking towards to see if they'd be able to do. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And yeah, a lot of them, I mean, the eye test, you can see with the eye test. I am interested to see how the some of like the tackle for loss and sack numbers change in Big Ten play if they get worse or get better. Whether they try to get some quicker passes if the left tackle situation doesn't get better, they try to get some quick hitters to put less strain on the offensive line or anything like that. But yeah, a lot of those stats are backed up with what we've been seeing with the eye test.
Yeah, it's a great point about the time possession thing. Usually you can take the air out of the ball by running the ball with a lot of success to really increase that time of possession. But like you said, Rutgers hasn't necessarily done that this year. Diving into the advanced analytics on Rutgers offense, in terms of adjusted EPA per play, Rutgers is 7th in the nation at 0.48 EPA per play. In raw EPA per play, Rutgers is 18th at 0.25. And I should kind of throw the caveat, the difference between adjusted EPA and raw EPA is adjusted EPA accounts for home field advantage, quality of opponent, and garbage time. It also only considers FBS versus FBS games, and as a result, the adjusted EPA per play and normal EPA per play numbers will differ. So just wanted to throw that caveat out there. So adjusted EPA carries more weight than just raw EPA. So Rutgers having a better number there is a good thing. In terms of yards per play, Rutgers is 59th in the nation at 6.35 yards per play. Success rate, Rutgers is 26th in the nation at 49.6%. Now, if we're just talking passing, Rutgers is 15th in EPA per dropback at 0.41. They're 42nd in yards per dropback at 8.19. Passing success rate, they're 8th in the country at 58.4%. And what success rate is it's the based on the down and distance, whether or not it's a kind of a yes or no answer if a play was successful. So, for example, on 3rd and 1, if you get 1 yard, that would be deemed as a successful play. And there's a whole formula to it, but just generally, whereas if it's 1st and 10 and you got a 1 yard run, that would be deemed as a not successful play, just to give you an idea. EPA per rush, Rutgers is 42nd in the nation at 0.1 EPA per rush. Yards per rush, they're 92nd at 4.68. Rushing success rate, they're 72nd at 41.6%. And then havoc rate, they are allowing a havoc play at 8.8% of the time, which is 47th best. Now let's turn it over to the Iowa defense, where you can see a lot of green. So this is why it's going to be who wins the battle between the stellar units on both sides, between Iowa's defense and Rutgers offense. Iowa is 14th in the nation in scoring defense at 10 points per game, 3rd in total defense at just 178 yards allowed per game. Turnovers gained, Iowa only has 1 turnover through 3 games. They are 117th. That is really the only thing that they are failing to do on defense. 3rd down conversion rate, they are 26th best. It's 27.8%. 4th down conversion rate, 24th best at 33.3%. Red zone defense, they are 55th best at 80% allowed. 80% of their opponents' red zone trips have resulting in a scoring drive. 13th in passing defense at 120.3 yards per game, 53rd in sacks at just 2.3 per game, 6th best in rushing defense at just 57.7 yards per game, and 51st in tackles for loss at 6.3 per game. What jumps out to you guys about these numbers?
Turnovers, or lack thereof, I guess.
Yep.
Greg Schiano said it, I think, post-game Norfolk State. They're 19-2, and I think, don't quote him on that, is the correct wording, but he believes they're 19-2 when they don't turn the ball over, or when they win the turnover battle, one of the two things.
In his 2.0 era.
In his 2.0 era, yeah. So, I mean, hell, they can't get a turnover. You're not going to turn the ball over. You have to think you have a pretty good shot there. But again, this could be a very ugly matchup of just like David versus Goliath type thing. Like who's gonna take that lead in the end? Who knows? But the lack of turnovers is definitely interesting.
And the other thing that I'm looking towards is the 3rd and 4th down numbers. I mean, obviously Rutgers struggled against Ohio on 3rd down, and then we're perfect 5 of 5 on 4th down. We've kind of the 4th down attempts have kind of toned down a bit since then, but we've still seen them have a willingness to go for it. So I'm curious to see how aggressive they are in some of those situations where you're not saying, all right, it's 4th and 2, 4th and 3. We have a pretty big advantage in the trenches against your D line versus our offensive line. So we're just going to run the ball. I wonder if I'm curious to see what the strategizing is for these 3rd and 4th downs. I don't think we'll see like again in the Iowa or the Ohio game, going for it on a 4th and 1 from your own 34-yard line in a tie game in the second half. So I'm curious to see where that aggressiveness factors into this game.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Diving into the advanced analytics for Iowa's defense, they are 11th in the nation at adjusted EPA per play allowed at negative 0.21. In terms of raw EPA, they're 33rd best in negative 0.18 EPA per play. Yards per play allowed, just 3.57 yards per play allowed, which is 3rd best in the nation. 25th best in success rate allowed at 33.8% for their defense. If we're talking about passing, they are 35th best in EPA per dropback allowed at negative 0.22. In yards per dropback, they're 9th best at just 3.96 yards per dropback allowed. 42nd best in success rate, passing success rate allowed at 36.1%. Moving on to rushing, 47th best in EPA per rush at negative 0.13 EPA per rush. Yards per rush, they are 11th best in the nation at 3.13 yards per carry allowed. Rushing success rate, they're 28th best at 31% success rate allowed. And then in havoc rate, they're 69th best at just 11.7 percent allowed. Let's transition to Rutgers defense. And you can tell right away, it looks a lot different than Iowa's defensive numbers. All right, so Rutgers defense is allowing 19.3 points per game, which is 58th best in the nation. Total defense, 76th best at 342 yards per game allowed. Turnovers gained, Rutgers is 68th in the nation at just 1 per game. Third down conversion rates, 71st best at 35.7%. Fourth down conversion rate, 51st best at 50%. Red zone defense, they were 87th best, 88.9% allowed there. Passing defense, 57th best at 194 yards per game. Sacks, Rutgers is 103rd in the nation at 1.3 per game. Rushing defense, they are 90th best at 148.7 yards per game allowed. And then tackles for loss, Rutgers is 87th in the nation at 5 per game. Alec, what jumps out to you about Rutgers defense and contextualizing it with Iowa's offense?
I mean, for one, the thing that kind of sticks out to me is like the highest. I guess we'll talk about the advanced ones next. But in the general ones, I mean, just the fact that they just haven't been able to really get teams off the field, and especially getting in the backfield to get teams off the field. I guess for the advanced ones, the one that sticks out to me is the havoc rate is actually like the best that they have, the highest ranked advanced stat that they have, which is interesting because, you know, when we've watched the first 3 games, it feels like the biggest problem is they're just not creating big plays of whether it's turnovers or sacks or anything like that. Does havoc rate factor in? I don't think it factors in special teams. So I thought that was interesting. I think it's just getting better on a play-by-play basis, like just trying to. I feel like too often this defense has allowed smaller plays to compound themselves into medium to big plays. Whether it's through like missed tackles or missing an angle or anything like that, where it should just be like a boilerplate like 4 or 5, 6 yard game, but it turns into like 15 or 20 because you're kind of over pursuing or something like that. So just getting those plays that that have broken free for big plays, just keeping them where they should be as like regular gains, I think is the biggest thing for me. And then obviously getting that havoc rate up, creating some more big plays. I think that's the biggest indicator in how dominant defense can be, is creating those big plays, the havoc rate.
Let's jump into some advanced numbers now for Rutgers defense. 83rd in adjusted EPA per play at 0.12. 96th in raw EPA per play at 0.03. 125th in the nation in yards per play allowed at 7.01. And 90th in success rate allowed at 41.5%. In terms of passing defense, Rutgers is 83rd in EPA per dropback at 0.05. 111th in yards per dropback at 7.82, 108th in passing success rate allowed at 45.7%. In terms of rushing numbers, Rutgers is 95th in EPA per rush allowed at 0.01, Rushing yards allowed, Rutgers is 123rd in the nation in yards per rush allowed at 6.09 yards per rush. And then in rushing success rate, Rutgers is 61st in the nation at 36.6%. Then havoc rate, like Alec alluded to, they're 43rd in the nation at 13% havoc rate. In general, now that we've kind of like gone through some of the stats, I think it's good to kind of look at some of the PFF numbers as well, and maybe kind of formulate a winning game plan for Rutgers. So if we're looking just kind of at the unit rankings, Iowa is 21st overall in PFF grade at 92.2. Their total offense is 79.5, which is 31st, which is quite a bit higher than I expected it to be. But when you kind of look further into it, it makes sense. Their passing offense is ranked 89th at a 65.8. Their pass blocking is 32nd at 77.5. Their receiving grade is 123rd at 58.2. Their rushing grade is 63rd at 76.8. And their run blocking is first overall at 84.6. Now, to me, with that, everything that we've discussed previously and to now, they have a very good, stout offensive line. If you just look at their grades along the offensive line, their left tackle is the 21st best tackle, 79.8 grade. Their left guard is first in the nation for guards at 87.0. Their center is the fifth best graded center in the nation at 81.0. Their right guard is ranked third out of 563 guards at 81.4, and then their right tackle, Jennings Dunker, is the seventh best tackle in the nation. They are a very, very good unit up front. So I don't believe that Rutgers is going to be able to get pressure with 4 in this game. So I think we need to get some exotic blitzes going and force Iowa into passing the ball, and hope Mark Gronowski makes some mistakes, because I got some additional stats on Mark Gronowski that are not great for him. He's 10th worst in the nation in average depth of target at just 6.2 yards per target, and that is out of 151 qualifying quarterbacks. Iowa's offense is 10th highest in drop rate at 14%. Mark Gronowski has a 0% big time throw rate, which is a proprietary stat from PFF. It's basically think of it as like, how many dimes did you throw? He's not thrown any dimes this season. And then in terms of his time to throw, second longest time to throw in the nation at 3.37 seconds. And almost 2/3 of his passes are 10 yards or behind the line of scrimmage. So he only targets things short and intermediate. He holds onto the ball forever. And he's also got 2 fumbles this season already. So that's why we really need to get pressure on him, because he will give you opportunities to really do dumb shit behind the line of scrimmage. You just need to actually make him do it. I just talked at you guys for a bit. What are your general thoughts looking at some of the unit grades and individual player grades for Iowa?
It's not good.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Gronowski kind of like stinks. Like it's all on him. Like, look at that line protection.
Yeah. The line is playing really well. The tight ends, for the most part, are playing well. The defensive front is clearly the strength of the unit. Like, up in the trenches, they are very strong. So Rutgers, even though the offensive line for Rutgers has played well thus far, I still think that they are going to face. I think Ethan's going to face pressure like he hasn't seen yet this year. How does he handle that? Are they able to chip with the tight ends effectively? Are they able to pass protect with the running backs effectively? That's going to be something that they really haven't been incredibly challenged with this year. That Iowa's going to definitely present more than the first 3 games for the Scarlet Knights.
I might even be more concerned on the flip side, like Rutgers' defensive line against Iowa's offensive line. Like, are they going to be able to create any type of pressure whatsoever? Because they haven't been able to do a whole lot of pressure against like shittier opponents. And this is one of the best offensive lines in college football, if not maybe the best.
It's certainly up there. it's one of the best in the nation. Yeah, I think we're going to have to bring 5, 6 and just force either. I honestly would want them to kind of bring that many on almost every play, because if you look at Gronowski's numbers when he's pressured, he is definitely not somebody who is comfortable when he's facing pressure. I'll bring those numbers up now. But Mark Gronowski, when he's pressured this year, his PFF grades have fallen off a cliff. So in about 40% of his dropbacks, he's faced pressure, and he's only completing 37.5% of his passes. When he's kept clean, he's completing 66% of his passes. When he's blitzed, which is about 32% of the time, his completion percent is 53%. When he's not blitzed, his completion percent is about 61%, which is the other 70% of the times. And you can see his PFF grades fall off a cliff. He fumbles a lot when he's pressured. So getting pressure on Mark Gronowski will be key, and you're going to have to bring people from all over the place in order to do it, because clearly you're not going to win just with 4, because we haven't done it all year, and now you're facing arguably the best offensive line in the Power 4. So they're going to have to find a way to do things that they haven't shown on tape yet this year.
And that's going to put the onus on the defensive backs. Can they cover long enough to, make those blitzes worth it? If they try to test something, can they make a play on the ball or something like that? I think the cornerbacks have steadily gotten better as the season has gone on. Now, granted, I feel like the offensive competition has gotten worse from game 1 to game 3. Obviously, we've talked a lot about how the safeties haven't been at their best. Are they going to be able to take that next step to be in coverage? Because, you're not just going to send 0 blitzes the entire time. One or both of those guys is going to have to be over the top, making sure that if a blitz comes and someone gets free, one of the safeties is there to help out. So, yeah, the onus is going to be on the defensive backs to make sure that they are at their best, and making sure that if they send the house at Gronowski, he has no easy buttons to find.
Counterpoint, Iowa's missing a ton of dudes. They're probably they're going to be without their first string running back, without their first string tight end, and I believe their first string wide receiver. 2 of those wide receivers that were on the chart before are walk-ons, or former walk-ons at that point, in Anderson, and I forget who the other guy was, Phillips. And I'm really not too concerned with the secondary. I'm more concerned about the line. Well, I guess the secondary a little bit in terms of tackling, because that's always an issue. But coverage-wise, I'm not too concerned.
I mean, I'm concerned with coverage. We've been terrible in coverage this season.
I know, but they don't seem all that good. So I'm I don't know. I'm more confident in him coverage-wise. It's the tackling. Once that running back gets to that second level, he might just be gone completely. It's oh, shit. It's not even their first string running back. It's their second string running back.
Yeah. So I know we threw a lot of numbers at you guys today. We're going to try and make it more digestible in an article and put it on the boards as well. But just wanted to kind of, I guess, throw some context at you when we're trying to discuss, matchups and individual players, units on the teams. Because to me, I feel like Rutgers has to dictate the terms of this game if they want to win, because I think Iowa is too strong in the trenches in order for you. Rutgers is going to have to be the aggressor in this game in order to win, because I'd say if this game was played, I don't know, if this game was played 10 times, I think Iowa probably wins about half them, but they wouldn't really have to do a whole lot to win. They could just kind of play the way Schiano ideally wants to do it, where you just sit on the ball and kind of run the air out of it. Whereas I think if Rutgers needs to win, they have to really kind of go out there and grab it. So we'll see if they do that. I'm going to stop sharing this now. You guys want to go around the Big Ten and talk about what happened this past weekend?
Let's pull that up, actually. Or unless you guys have a game specifically you want to talk about already. Oh, yeah, man, you pulled it up. Even better.
I want to talk about a few. First one I want to talk about, since we already kind of covered Iowa and UMass. The late game on Saturday night was Minnesota playing Cal. Now, Rutgers is playing Minnesota next week, so not this upcoming Friday, obviously, the Saturday after that. They're going out to Minnesota. The last game before Rutgers' first bye. Minnesota will be on bye this upcoming week. This kind of was like a house of horrors for Minnesota. They had a bunch of weird things happen. Coy Parrish muffed a punt. For those of you who haven't been following Cal this year, Cal has a chance, given how the way their schedule is shaping up, to maybe start the season 8-9-0. They have a freshman phenom in their quarterback, Alec. You would be the most likely of all of us to know how to pronounce his name. So if you want to,
I'm not sure why that is, but I guess thank you. I'm going to give it a shot, and I'm pretty sure because I've listened to the broadcast, I got this. So it's Jaren Kiawe Sagapolatele.
yeah. So I say that because I know you probably watched the game and watched probably at least one other Cal game this year.
Are you calling me some kind of sicko?
Yes.
You are a tape grinder, a game watcher, if nothing else. So Minnesota, Darius Taylor missed this one with an injury, and they lost their second string running back early on in this game as well. So it was kind of just like everything went wrong for them. Drake Lindsay, he's a guy that like the highs are really high, but the lows are kind of equally low. His completion percentage isn't great. He's turns the ball over a decent amount. I think he's a guy that Minnesota similarly hyped up Ethan Kaliak-Manis, but didn't really develop him. Like they were both very toolsy guys. They both played early, but I don't know. He's not a guy that like scares me as much as I thought he would after watching him play. Either you guys got anything else on this Cal Minnesota game?
Cal's going to be 9-0 if you look at their schedule. It's like dog shit, but that's life in the ACC basically. Syracuse of 24, Cal of 25. We'll put it like that. I mean, North Carolina maybe. I don't even know if they're good though. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they'll be 9-0 by the time they face Louisville. If I had to guess, or 8-1 at the very worst.
Yeah,
it's a good Cal team this year too.
It's a soft schedule for sure.
Yeah, but Minnesota, I think I've said it the past couple weeks. I don't think they scare me at all. And I had Minnesota chalked up as a win in the preseason, and I still kind of feel that way, no matter what happens on Friday.
Yeah, and also I think this Friday against Iowa, I think is going to be telling for how this defense looks in true Big Ten play when they face Minnesota and Drake Lindsay. I thought Lindsay really didn't look all that good on Saturday against Cal. He made some mistakes. He just didn't look overly sharp. And of course, being down your top two running backs doesn't help things. But I mean, if those guys are down in 2 weeks or a week and a half, I guess, or 2 weeks from now, then that'll only help Rutgers as well. I'm just terrified of Coy Parrish. I know he didn't play very well in this game, but I am terrified that guy is going to make like a game-breaking play against Rutgers or something. He's like I like to think of him as like the modern day Jabril Peppers or something. He scares me really. He really does. But I thought this was going to be a win for Rutgers going in from the preseason, and they haven't done a whole lot to make me change that. I mean, they've looked fine, but they've played Buffalo, Northwestern State, and then they lost that game to Cal. So I still think this is certainly a winnable game for Rutgers.
Yeah, agreed. It's going to be winnable. Will they actually, given that they're playing at a rest disadvantage, Minnesota is going to be hyped up to play half their former team at this point. Well, not anymore, but Ethan at least and Kirk. What other games do you guys want to discuss from the Big Ten slate this past week?
You call them who'd you call him? Jabril Peppers, and you didn't even say like mini Travis Hunter or anything like that.
Well, Hunter's different.
He plays offense.
Hunter,
he kick returns. He's a wide receiver. He's a DB.
Hunter was different in that I think he was a better wide receiver than defensive back, and he was like a cornerback and all that. He just reminds me of Peppers because A, being in the Big Ten, B, he's not like a true two-way player, but they use him as that way. But he's like, not only can he also play wide receiver, I feel like he can also play a running back. He can return kicks, all that. Like, I don't know. I felt like Peppers was probably maybe I'm just scared of Michigan and in the Big Ten, but that was just the first thing that kind of stuck out to me.
There.
The top 4 teams in the Big Ten had a bit of a down week. Ohio State was playing Ohio, the Fighting Parker Navarros. That game was 13-9 at one point. Parker Navarro got hit late, which was not called, and he missed some time. Then Ohio State did the Ohio State thing of kind of just, grinding them to, a fine powder by the end of the game. They won 37-9. Penn State they didn't look incredible against Villanova. Villanova had like one of the roughest backdoor covers of all time in that one. Oregon was up 17-0 at halftime against Northwestern in the little baby stadium by the lake. Northwestern ended up scoring 2 touchdowns late to make it look closer than it actually was. Then Illinois kind of struggled with a bad Western Michigan team in the first half and was able to kind of pour it on in the second, but they were only up 10-0 at halftime against an 0-3 Western Michigan team. Out of those 4 games, did any of them overly concern either of you, or just like the a random hiccup for each one?
No, it's just like this is like by week 3 of the non-conference slate. It's just I mean, I guess for Oregon they played a Big Ten team. I don't know. Maybe the weather was a little weird out in Evanston. It's right on the lake, so it could make some things a little weird. They're traveling halfway across the country. I don't know. Nothing really changed that much in my eyes, at least.
Ohio's better than I thought. Like, I thought they put up a damn good fight, and if Parker Navarro doesn't get hurt, I'm not saying they're going to win. I think that score would have been a lot closer, and it's an Ohio team that just beat West Virginia last week too, mind you. And West Virginia just beat Pitt. Like, it's a whole it's a solid Ohio team, and I'd be shocked if they're not in the MAC championship.
Yeah, Ohio State just kind of did what they do, where they like Mike said, they just grind you down into a powder, and then boom, 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 they just hit 3 big plays and it's just over. I mean, of course, when Jeremiah Smith has something was like a 30-yard touchdown run and then also called a big play, it's tough to stand a chance.
The final one I want to kind of highlight here is Purdue looking surprisingly competent. Not that they were ever in a position to win versus USC, but the fact that they're not getting beaten 56-0 like they did last year against Notre Dame, I think is noteworthy. That they're not just going to roll over, and they're clearly not the worst team in the Big Ten. If we want to talk about the worst team in the Big Ten, I think UCLA might already have that wrapped up. They got their coach fired this weekend after they lost 35-10 on Friday night to New Mexico at home. They were 15.5-point favorites, and they lost by 25. I don't know if that's like the biggest, I wouldn't say upset, but like the biggest difference between what the spread was and what the final score ended up being this year in terms of a favorite losing by as big of a margin as they did. But that was a brutally ugly game, and it's a shame that Rutgers is not getting UCLA this year. And of course, they got them last year, and they got the first win in the UCLA's Big Ten history over the Scarlet Knights, which never fun.
No, not great. Nico, however you pronounce his last name, it's just like, what are you doing going out there? I get it, you got paid, but you aren't getting paid. Like, it's not, even if you're getting paid more, like, it's not Tennessee. UCLA might be the worst Power 5 team, right? Like,
didn't he end up getting paid even less than he would have gotten at
Tennessee?
Tennessee this year?
Should have just stayed, kept his mouth shut. You would have been, maybe you would have beat Georgia.
Well, I mean, it was a leverage play. He tried to get more money, and they turned him down, and he thought he would be able to get that money elsewhere, and he didn't. So,
yeah,
there was one more game that I want. Or go ahead, Richie.
All right, going back to Purdue real quick before we get too far away from it. Barry Odom's a hell of a coach. Like, he's making chicken. How's the saying? Something out of chicken
salad
shit.
Chicken
salad out of chicken shit. Like, they're not a good team on paper. They've replaced 60, 70 players, I think it was, this offseason, and he put together this makeshift roster, and they're competent enough that it's not that it concerns me, that game, but it's something to keep an eye on, at least, because Purdue's away, I believe, right, too?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the other issue too. But I think Rutgers wins still, like, with pretty much ease, but at the same time, it's just a Purdue team that scares me a little bit more than I thought they would.
Yeah, I remember preseason saying that was the game that, like, Rutgers can probably still win, but it's going to be similar to the Illinois game, that, granted, different coaching staff, that they played last year, the 50 to whatever the heck in overtime. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Like, Ryan Brown, I haven't watched a ton of him yet, but the stats certainly look good. So I guess wondering how he progresses. And the one game that doesn't really have anything to do with Rutgers, but I thought it was interesting. I saw some scuttle around Michigan State circles. They weren't too happy after their win over Youngstown State, who granted is an FCS team, but a pretty good FCS team at that. They won 41-24. I saw some fans and people that weren't too happy with how that game went. Like, just looked kind of mediocre. Really nothing to do with Rutgers since they don't play Michigan State this year, but just, keeping it in the back of my mind.
Go Penguins.
Wasn't Jim Tressel the head coach there at one point? I forgot, exiled from Ohio State.
The president there, I believe, or like AD or something.
That's what it was.
Ben Asher went there from Rutgers. Another little connection. Who else? Who was the linebacker from Florida? Pollock, I think, went there. John Pollock before he retired.
Oh my God.
Yeah, long time ago.
The last thing we didn't mention is the game time for the Rutgers Minnesota game was announced today. It's going to be played at 12 p.m. It is a noon kickoff, the first noon kickoff of the season for the Scarlet Knights. That will be, 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. Local time in Minnesota. So if you're planning to go on, if you're planning to go to that game, it's going to be a super early kick.
We were so close to having no noon games.
Yep. So wrapping up here tomorrow, Richie and Alec will be at the Rutgers Basketball Media Day. We'll have a pod. We'll have a pod later in the afternoon discussing everything they saw, they heard, everything Coach Schiano and the players had to say about the upcoming season. So if you are interested in hearing everything basketball Media Day, that will be out late tomorrow afternoon. And then we'll have our game preview on Thursday morning released. We'll be talking to Jeffrey the Greek from Eyes on Big Ten podcast to go over everything in the Iowa-Rutgers matchup. And then we'll have our post-game show late on Friday. Richie will not be with us. He's on a bachelor party trip this weekend. So it'll be me and Alec and a band of guests, I'm sure. But that's kind of the schedule for the rest of the week. So stay tuned to your podcast feeds and to the boards for everything Rutgers related. Guys, you got anything to sign off with here today?
Two things. Well, you got to remind me. I want to go to the. I don't say I don't want to go on this trip, but I really want to see this Rutgers game. I'm going to find a way to watch it, obviously, and I'll be on my phone in the middle of like Texas, just watching on my phone. And I'll probably be the only Rutgers fan in the state of Texas watching it, but not fan, media member. Other thing, it's not a media day technically tomorrow. It's like an unofficial, official media day. So they're not having the whole setup, the whole we'll still have a press conference and all that. We'll still talk to some players. More importantly, we get to see practice. You'll see our observations on the boards. On paper, going into this, just pure guess, I feel like we're going to be slightly I don't even know the word. I think we'll feel better about the program after seeing it tomorrow. I just feel like we'll see the program, we'll see the guys play, and we'll be like, okay, good. Problem is, last year we saw them practice, and we were like, okay, they're going to be good. And they weren't. So we'll have to wait and see.
I just want to see something concrete, either good or bad. I want to see something that, I just want to see something. Because right now, everything's in the air. I just want to see something with my own two eyes and get some kind of takeaway from that. I don't know. I want to see something on the court. I want to see some basketball.
Oh, that's fair. I'll do you one better. On our boards, we posted thoughts of someone that did see basketball, and they kept saying how Bay Fall is an animal out there. There's some good behind that, and there's some bad behind that. You have to check out the boards to read the rest of that, but I'm intrigued to see how he plays, and I want to see if he truly is like this maniac, quote unquote, legit quote, on the court that he is. Good, again, good, bad things about that. He could just be fouling a lot, so we'll see.
All right, so stay tuned, guys. It's going to be, and girls, it's going to be a busy week. So for me, Alec, and Richie, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast, signing off.